Rush Limbaugh passes away at 70. Biden does a town hall we look into, and we see the Cuomo-gate having a new development. These stories and more on your February 18th, Not So New. Starting us off from Fox News, we have John Rich recalls Rush Limbaugh's anonymous 1,000 donation to the Celebrity Apprentice fundraiser. This is just commenting on how Rush Limbaugh made a goal and participated in the Celebrity Apprentice, which probably was how he initially got introduced to Trump. And this just celebrating his life from Fox News. Rush Limbaugh died at 70 after a cancer battle. Conservative talk radio pioneer Rush Limbaugh died at age 70 after a battle with lung cancer, his family announced. I think anyone that's involved in any type of non-mainstream media has Rush Limbaugh to thank, regardless of how politically divisive he was a political actor in this political theater. He really revolutionized how information got out. He made it so people weren't dependent on mainstream media. He made things like podcasting much more readily available, live streaming, really like AM radio, really took off as a result of him. So, I see a lot of people going against him for his political views, and obviously, everyone disagrees with everyone on at least something. But, I think at this point we need to celebrate something that he did, which was open up the information access for people. Next, we look at Sky News. U.S. charges North Korean hackers with stealing and extorting more than $1.3 billion. Kim Jong-un's regime has become a criminal syndicate with a flag, the U.S. Assistant Attorney General. This comes in a story that 3 North Korean men were stealing and extorting financial institutions and cryptocurrency exchanges around the world. In the article, they say North Korean operatives using keyboards rather than guns stealing digital wallets of cryptocurrency instead of sacks of cash are the world's leading 21st century nation state robbers, said John Demers, the U.S. Attorney General. Simply put, the regiment has become a criminal syndicate with a flag which harnesses its state resources to steal hundreds of millions of dollars, he continued, while unveiling a previously sealed federal indictments. This will be interesting. I know Trump got a lot of backlash for his outreach to North Korea early on in his presidency. However, that's something that seemed to die down with really, I think it was really big just his first year. We didn't really hear much about it his last 3 years. And if you remember back in 2016, Obama said that North Korea was the #1 threat to the United States. So it'd be interesting to see how Biden takes this new challenge. Next, Joe Biden did a town hall last night, and he's getting a lot of hits on 2 major issues, one from the left, one from the right. From the left, he's getting a lot of backlash regarding student loan forgiveness. From ABC News, we see Biden rejects $50,000 student loan forgiveness plan, faces progressive backlash. The president said he's prepared to write off up to $10,000 in debt. And he's quoted as saying, "I will not make that happen," when asked about the $50,000 student debt proposal. And ABC News says, during a CNN town hall on Tuesday, an attendee asked Biden about Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren's proposal to cancel up to $50,000 in federal student debt per borrow. And he responds with, "It depends on whether or not you go to a public university or a private university." The president said, doesn't want to forgive the debts of people who attend elite schools such as Harvard and Yale, who often go on to make higher salaries, and added that he would instead prioritize childhood education for disadvantaged communities. I know one of the biggest issues that come along with student forgiveness is what happens to individuals that actually paid off their student loan debt. And it's also really a slap in the face to anyone that made sacrifices when it came to going to school. I know personally I chose to go to a smaller, more affordable in-state school. I paid off my student loans very quickly. However, I also got a very good job outside school. I'd really like to see reforms to higher education. First, we really should be doing loans in a similar way to the way we do businesses. We should look at the ability to pay back loans. Additionally, we just shouldn't have 100% of the loans for federal college or for college funds to be approved. I think it's a real issue if we want to maintain college affordability, and we also need to make colleges exclusive again. We don't need to make it so that you need a college education to do really basic things. We should be doing more trade schools and those types of jobs, as those are the ones that we need the most of. From the right, he's getting some fallback in regards to comments he made about the Uyghur camps and China and its human rights abuses in general. Here's the quote from the town hall.
Chinese leaders, if you know anything about Chinese history, it has always been the time when China has been victimized by the outer world is when they haven't been unified at home. So the central, vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China. And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that. I point out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the way, he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms at each country, and their leaders are expected to follow.
I think it's something that we really need to push back on, and I really want to push the left on, is that we cannot say that it is a cultural norm to commit genocide. There are certain points in history where that was very common, and we look back on those civilizations and call it barbaric, rightfully. And to be doing this in the modern era is completely unheard of. Most people maintain that human rights abuses are one of the few reasons that we ever consider going to war. And we really need to be pushing the Chinese Communist Party on these types of issues, specifically with the Uyghurs, and then in the lack of respect given to Hong Kong and Taiwan citizens. And then finally, we need to continue pressing them when it comes to WHO involvement. I think it's still vastly unheard of that we give significant amounts of money to the WHO, and the Chinese nation has more influence than we do. It does not make sense at all. So this is something we all kind of expected, that China was to Biden the way Russia was to Trump. Finally, we look at some new developments when it comes to Cuomo-gate. This comes from the Daily Poster. Cuomo-gate, a Nixonian scandal, is engulfing New York. This is just looking at some new information that's come out regarding Cuomo's hiding of the number of COVID deaths. And they get, a couple of fact checks going on. In their article, they state the biggest political scandal in America right now is playing out in New York, where Governor Andrew Cuomo is in a lot of trouble, and rightfully so. The Democratic governor did not merely widely mismanaged his state's response to the COVID emergency while netting himself a lucrative book deal and an Emmy. He did something worse. In the middle of the public health emergency, he used his office to help one of the largest political donors shield itself from legal consequences, as 15,000 nursing home residents died from COVID, and then he and his administration underreported that death toll, helping the same donor. The Daily Poster states that they've been covering this for weeks, and here are the facts that they looked into. So fact one, Cuomo's machine raked in $2 million from industry group. They say Cuomo's political machine received more than $2 million from the Greater New York Hospital Association and its executives and its lobbying firms. The healthcare industry also funneled more than $450,000 to members of the New York legislature in 2020. This just looks at their donations, and we can see how much they increased it specifically in 2018. Fact two, Cuomo helped industry group shield nursing home execs amid New York's exploding COVID death toll in April 2020. Cuomo's budget itself a provisional shielding hospital and nursing home executives from legal consequences if their corporation decisions killed people during the pandemic. The GYNHA said it drafted the provision, which did not merely shield frontline healthcare workers from lawsuit, but also extended such liability protection to top corporate officials who make staffing and safety decisions. Critics argued that shielding hospital and nursing home executives from the threat of lawsuits would remove a deterrent to cost-cutting, profit-maximizing decisions that endanger lives. They were ignored. Fact three, Cuomo's corporate immunity law went national. Cuomo's corporate immunity provision was quickly copied and pasted into other state laws and into Senate Republican legislation. In near word-for-word fashion, the liability shield spread from New York to other states, even as New York Assemblyman Romkin released a report showing that states with liability shields were reporting higher nursing home death rates during the pandemic. Factor Cuomo's immunity law endangers lives, according to the AG. Looking at the quote from the AG, the immunity laws could be wrongly used to provide any individual or entity from liability, even if those decisions were not made in good faith or motivated by financial incentives. Provided financial incentives to for-profit nursing home operators to put residents at risk of harm by refraining from investing public funds to obtain sufficient staffing to meet resident care needs, to purchase sufficient PPE for staff, and to provide efficient training to staff to comply with infectious control protocols during pandemics and other public health emergencies. Next, we have fact 5, which has been very widespread now, is that a Cuomo top aide admitted withholding info. And I believe that's the last fact that they have. So far, we haven't seen any of these facts mixed together into a true narrative. However, I'm very concerned with the vast increase in donations in 2018 from the GNYHA and how that could have potentially affected Cuomo's decision making during COVID. This really just reflects on how people are tired of big money getting involved in politics, lobbying. This is essentially a state version of lobbying. And we need to find new ways to make it so businesses are held accountable when it comes to these types of issues. Additionally, we need to find ways to wrap in media. Something that really doesn't make sense either is that a business is limited on how much money they can donate during campaigns. However, Fox or MSNBC can give as much airtime, which obviously has some financial benefit to either particular candidate. Additionally, we see services like Twitter blocking individuals, which has the potential for one candidate to be given more access to advertise for free. Obviously, these all have effects on votes and how information gets spread. And this is your February 18th Not So News update. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and have a good one.